Hello everybody and welcome back to another one of these videos. My name is Kaylin and as usual the past few videos I am reading creepy stories that I find on Reddit. If you have any of those kind of stories that you'd like me to read, that you have experienced or have written, please feel free to contact me and I will be always happy to just read them for the channel, so let me know. But anyway, enjoy the video. I am currently living with my partner on an outback property in Australia. Our neighbours are across the road. Pretty big driveways on both of our properties though, but still close enough to see their house clearly and whatnot. There's cows in the paddocks that surround our property. We could go up and pet them if we wanted to. And the sheep, a couple paddocks over. But they're far enough from the property that they're like white dots to my vision. You never hear the sheep, only the cows. We have our Christmas lights set up now, and they have timers set so that they're on from like 7 PM or 8 PM to 12 AM. From the room we're staying in, we can see the lights through our two windows, and I really like to have the blinds up at night because of this. Anyways, at around 10 PM, my partner and I were settling down for sleep in our room. He noticed that the cows are making noises like sheep, and we joked about this for a bit. He even joked that it could be a skinwalker. I, however, do not find that funny because I've heard that even talking about it, let alone joking about it, could attract them. I'm a believer, so I was getting bad vibes after he said that. He falls asleep and I'm just watching videos on my phone and playing games. Occasionally I'll hear the same sheep noises. They generally sounded like actual sheep, so I was pretty freaked out. The Christmas lights made me feel protected, at least a tiny bit protected, because I felt like they'd be sensitive to the light and wouldn't want to be close to it. That being said, I also felt like a deer in fucking headlights. I genuinely felt like I was being watched, like it was a strong vibe, but I still tried to ignore it. 12 AM hits and I don't realize this until the Christmas lights suddenly turn off. Now I don't know if they make a noise, like someone flipping a switch when they do this or not. I was asleep each time it's turned on and off at this moment. But that's exactly what it sounded like. I'm literally fucking frozen in bed. Not gonna lie, I'm tearing up a bit telling the story. And all I can think is that something went ahead and took the liberty to turn those motherfucking lights off. And the switch for those being maybe 5 steps away from one of the windows in our room. Every now and then, from 10 p.ish onwards, I've heard the occasional sheep, which is almost physically impossible given how far away they are. These noises sounded like they were coming from the cow paddocks, and the fact that I'm hearing it now in the pitch darkness of my room, feeling like I'm being watched, and hearing the additional strange sound outside every now and then, like something on the veranda or something moving outside. I'm fucking spiraling, dude. So, me being me, I decide, fuck it. I am terrified of the dark, and I am hyperfixating on the noises and shit. Let's put the TV on, listen to some music, or something, you know? Damn ass fucking idea. I turn the TV on, it lights up, I go on YouTube and put on some bus and sleep music. I go from hearing like one sheep every now and then to hearing several. Clear as day, these noises were definitely sheep. Not to mention the strange noises outside were now becoming more frequent. Also, a fucking cow starts screaming. Now they've done this before. Almost every night actually. Usually it's like a build-up, almost like a moaning scream that slowly gets louder. It's like repetitive. I don't know bro, but last night it went from hearing several sheep to hearing a cow suddenly start doing the screaming with absolutely no build-up. There was genuine desperation or something in that noise, and it didn't last as long as they usually do. Usually it's like 10 seconds or something. This was like 4 to 5 seconds. I started watching shit on my phone, ignoring any and every outside noise, trying not to break down from absolute fear until I just about passed out. I woke up in the morning, not a single fucking sheep noise, no loose sheep in the paddocks around the house, but I'm too scared to check the lights had been tampered with, and I'm too scared to see if there's a dead cow or some shit. I want to get any form of answers I can here. Keep in mind this shit has never happened before. We only hear cows and only fucking cows. When I was around 10 or 12, roughly 12 years old, me and my grandma and uncle went to Jasper in Canada. Given how I was born in Canada itself, Nothing weirded me out when it came to the woods and nature as a whole. I've seen and heard deer before and a whole slew of animals. I don't remember much of the trip other than bits and pieces. But what I do remember was arriving at the hotel and climbing up the steps to the second floor. The hotel had a parking lot in front before the road. I remember waking up one morning in the hotel while my grandma and uncle were still asleep and walking over to the window to peer out from behind the blinds to see a fox standing in the middle of the road. It looked like it had been run over, given how oddly it was shaped. Concerned for its safety, I wanted to wake up my grandma or simply run out there to check on it. I felt my stomach sink when it turned to face at me. Its head looked bruised and misshapen, which I would have ruled out as it having been run over had it not stood on its hind legs. I turned my head away from the window and yelled for my grandma to wake up, who slept in her bed just a couple feet away, before I looked back and saw it walk on those hind legs to the side where the building hid from my view from the rest of the road. I looked completely insane when my grandma moved me aside and saw nothing on the road, even going as far as to open the door and peer down both ends of the walkway. Nothing. Regardless, I can say with confidence I'm not going back to Jasper. We have been living at a new house for 13 days now. We have taken some of your recommendations of cleansing the home to get any bad vibes out, and things have been great. But there's a creepy pattern happening. For the third time, I just found bones just outside our door. This time, it appears to be a deer femur head. This was found outside of the door that leads to the back deck. A few nights ago, there was a pile of smaller bones by the door leading to the front porch. And one of the first few nights we moved in there was a long bone by the rear door, right by where I was just found the femur head. I didn't think anything of it the first 2 times, assuming the long bone was left out there by the previous owner, and I chalked up the pile of bones to an animal. But it's weird that it's happened 3 times now, and each time by a door. Is this something to be worried about? The only other strange things happening are: 1. I cannot get the motion lights to work outside. They were already installed, I changed bulbs twice now in them, and they worked when I went inside. Next night they did not. So far I'm just chalking this up to bad wiring. 2. A few times we have heard very strange sound coming outside from the woods. I'm an avid hunter and do a lot of camping, and have never heard it before. It sounds like a loud propeller chopping through the woods. Possibly sounds elevated off the ground, but it's hard to tell. After it passes through, the woods go crazy. It wakes everything up. We see a deer running around after, can hear coyotes howl. It takes a few minutes for everything to settle back down. Do either of these things sound like I'm dealing with something out of my league? When I was about 10, my family wanted to drive cross-country through the southeast, visiting places throughout Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. We stopped for the night at a cheap cabin. I don't remember the exact location. The area around it was very densely wooded, and it was about 20 minutes from a small gas station where we got food for the night. It was a 2-bedroom cabin with a living room, and my parents took the big room. My younger sister got the other bedroom, and I was on the pull-out couch. The couch was placed directly next to a large window, looking out at a creek leading into the woods. Day went by, and everyone went to sleep. I woke up around 2 in the morning to a knocking on the window. I was facing away from it, and was too scared shitless to turn around. It wasn't a random knocking either. It was rhythmic, like a waltz with long pauses. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Too terrified to move, I lied there, trying not to make noise, until whatever was out there started to make a quiet, shrill, high-pitched whistle. When I heard that, I started screaming for my father, and the knocking abruptly stopped, and my dad ran into the room. He's not a superstitious man, and says to this day that he didn't see anything, but according to him, the sense of malaise that hit him was unlike anything he had ever felt before. He got my sister, and we all slept together in the big bedroom. The next day, I looked at the ground outside the window and saw large deer tracks leading directly up to it. We did similar trips until I moved out, but my dad refused to go back to that area. I went to Joshua Tree a few days ago in an Airbnb with 3 of my friends. The house was a nice size and had to be accessed by an unpaved dirt road. The closest house to us was maybe a mile away. All houses in this area have private driveways too. On one of our drives back from getting groceries, I had saw an animal run away from our headlights super fast, but I couldn't make it out. I assumed it was like a deer or something because of how big it was, but all I'd seen in the desert were quails. No big animals. That night I had a dream that my friends and I were searching for something, and we were taken to a basement full of things, and there was a small house with a big red door. We went inside, but I don't remember what was there. This may or may not have anything to do with my experience, but I read here that dreams do have correlation. One of the nights of our stay, we had a bonfire and did some stargazing. I had to pee at one point, so I went inside and was gone for maybe 5 minutes. When my friend and I came back, my 2 other friends weren't sitting by the fire. I just sat and waited a couple minutes for them to come back, but ended up going inside to check for them, but they weren't there. We go back out and start calling for them and get no response instead. We hear coughing close by the right side of the house where the pool was. We immediately knew it was our friend, because they had been kind of reserved. Our first instinct was to find them and help. At some point of the trip, we had gotten concerned if they were sick or something, but they ended up feeling a lot better. We started to go looking for them by the pool, but we call again, and in response we just hear the same exact cough, same pitch. It was the same cough maybe 4 or 5 times. We thought our friend was throwing up or maybe smoking. Usually when called for them, they'd answer immediately, except for this time, there was just more coughing. The last time we called, they had finally answered and started coming around from the opposite side of the house, and the sounds of them walking and talking came from this left side of the house, just seconds after we heard the coughing on the right side, and they were completely oblivious to everything that was happening. They had no idea about the coughing and didn't even hear us calling until they got closer to the house. As soon as I realized the coughing was a lure for us, it confirmed that something had been keeping an eye on us. Based off of what I've read, I'm pretty sure I've had a Skinwalker experience. Edit. This can't be chalked up to hearing things because of weed. We all have high tolerances, and weed doesn't make you hear things. We were both very aware, and I was probably the most sober. It was very quiet too. We just had turned off the music because we were talking. We ended up smoking later that night, and the friend we thought we heard coughing had such a soft cough, you can barely hear it. The pitch of the coughing we heard specifically sounded like our friend, but as if something was stuck in their throat or throwing up. Added extra details so it doesn't seem like I'm an unaware pothead. And that is it for the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed this, please let me know. Please leave a like and a comment on what was your favorite story for the video. If you guys want to, my Patreon is in the description for anyone who wants to support the channel. You don't have to, it's just there in case. But if you like what I'm doing, please let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.